obviously, it's been a very successful visit over here to the UK. We've just wrapped up with a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Trudeau from Canada, following, of course, the events of the Coronation this morning, which were clearly very successful, and I know were followed keenly by people at home, given the number of messages that I had from people who saw me on the telly. So happy to have questions.
Can you talk us through a little bit of the day? Start from the beginning. You left in the car, and then what happened?
Yeah, so it was, we then had the opportunity, I guess, to speak with other Commonwealth leaders while we were waiting to be taken into the Abbey, and then we were in the Abbey for the duration of the ceremony. It was clearly a very significant ceremony. There was a really nice atmosphere within the Abbey. You could tell that a lot of goodwill towards the royal family was being expressed from around the world. But actually the atmosphere outside was quite phenomenal. So travelling between events and just seeing the level of engagement from the general public and the extent to which people had really gone all out to celebrate the coronation, that was pretty cool.
This really is an international affair, isn't it? Who did you talk to? Who did you sit next to?
I was sitting behind the Australian Prime Minister, beside the Canadian Prime Minister, and with a variety of other leaders around. It is actually a really good opportunity to have a more informal conversation with a lot of the people who we might interact with on a more formal basis normally.
What was it like being in there? What were you thinking when you sat there and you looked around?
Yeah, it's just interesting to watch the dynamics unfold. Obviously, a really significant event, but also it was just a really positive thing to be part of.
Have you ever experienced anything like that before?
Well, clearly, the coronation of a new British monarch is not something that we've seen before in our lifetimes, and so it does have a big sense of history about it. I'm looking forward to getting back home. We've got a lot to look forward to at home. We've obviously got the budget coming up in a week or two, and looking forward to sharing the details of that. Of course, there's still the big challenges that there have always been, helping New Zealanders through the cost of living, dealing with the cyclone recovery and the flooding in Auckland.
Has it been frustrating?
It's just the nature of the job.
What did you and Justin Trudeau talk about?
We had a wide-ranging conversation along the lines of the introductory remarks that you would have heard from both of us. So clearly, climate change was a big theme of conversation, something that Canada and New Zealand are both very focused on. We had a talk about renewable energy, for example, and I think we've got a lot of areas of interest in common around renewable energy and the scope for greater innovation there, and the potential that has to create greater resilience as well. So we had some good conversations around that.
What discussions did you have about the Indo-Pacific region? He could have flagged that in his opening comments, that there was increased interest in that region. What did he tell you about that?
Yeah, we did have a conversation about the fact that Canada is more interested in the Pacific than perhaps it has been in recent times. I think that's something that New Zealand welcomes. We certainly welcome our traditional partners having a more active engagement with the Pacific. So we had a brief conversation about that. We then had a short conversation around the fact that we have an existing security arrangement which involves New Zealand, the UK, the US, Australia and Canada, and the importance of that to all of the 5 countries involved in that.
He had a strong relationship with Justin Trudeau. How would you explain your relationship with him?
Well, we've met each other a couple of times now today, and we've spoken on the phone before that, so it was a good opportunity for us to get to know each other a little bit more.
How's your phone book looking after this trip? Have you picked up some more cell phone numbers from a couple of leaders?
Yeah, quite a few actually. So it's always nice to meet with people in person. As an incoming Prime Minister, I've had the opportunity to speak with a lot of people on the phone, but actually a good opportunity to meet them in person.
Did you make any?
And what were the real highlights of your trip?
Clearly getting the UK Free Trade Agreement into force is something that's a really significant priority for New Zealand because of the potential economic benefits that can flow from that. But also, I think I was really pleased to be able to visit the New Zealand troops who are training Ukrainians and meet with some of the Ukrainian troops who are being trained by New Zealanders. It really, for me, underscored the importance of the rest of the world supporting Ukraine in their fight against a massive injustice. And actually, very hard not to feel humble when you meet the Ukrainian troops, given just the commitment and the dedication and the humility that they have shown.
Being in the ceremony with all the glitz and the glamour and the pomp, did you ever just stop and think about, I guess, other people out there, things like the cost of living crisis, you know, did it feel jarring at any point?
No one does pomp and ceremony quite as well as the British do, and you know there's an event here that's got 1,000 years of history associated with it. I think cost of living is front of mind for everyone, and you'll see that this coronation is on a smaller scale than previous coronations have been, and I think that is an acknowledgement by the Crown that actually they need to live in the times that we live in as well. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all the latest news from the New Zealand Herald. Click the subscribe button below or check out one of the videos here, and head over to nzherald.co.nz for more details on these stories and more.